2, 1.
Okay, this is Mr. Ellis. I've already done this video once, but I got it for some reason. I got to do less than 10 minutes, or I had to pay for it. You know, I'm a cheapskate, so I can't do that. Talking about oceans. We've already talked about how oceans are one big ocean where there's different basins: Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and there's also a Southern Ocean. 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by the ocean, so there's more water than there is land. Again, we talked about 97% of Earth's water is in the ocean, salt water. And the cool thing right here that you know is that most of life, 80% of life, the living things that live on the planet live in the ocean and around it. Okay, so that means only 20% actually live on land. Here's a map of the different ones. You can see the Southern Ocean down here at the bottom down here. Okay, estuaries. You read about that in the Blue Coach books. You use this long definition. It's basically where the rivers meet the ocean, where the fresh water meets the salt water. And it's usually what we call brackish water, which means it's part salt, part fresh. Now, the good thing about an estuary is that that's where a lot of animals actually come into it from the ocean. A lot of fish and stuff that come in, they lay their eggs in estuaries because number one, it's got good nutrients, and it's also a good place to protect their newborns from predators. Another cool thing about estuaries is that they actually take the water from the rivers and they get out all the toxins before it actually gets to the ocean, so that when it gets to the ocean, it's a whole lot more cleaner. That's why when you go to the salt marshes, you can always smell it. It smells like rotten eggs. That means that the estuary is doing its job. There's your picture right there. River, estuary, ocean. At the top, it's got fresh, brackish salt. There's your actual real life picture. Okay, we said brackish water is a mix of salt and fresh water. This is what's found in estuaries. Organisms that live in this water, they have to be able to adapt. They have to be able to adapt when it gets real salty and when it doesn't, when it gets more fresh. Also, you know that the tide goes in and out. So organisms have to adapt to that. So when the tide goes out, there's no water, it's dry, it gets hot. But they also got to be able to survive when the tide comes in and it's wet and cooler. A marine ecosystem is based on a water ecosystem in salt water. There's different types. Salt marshes, intertidal zones are a fancy word for saying for beaches. You know, where you got your sand and your waves and all that good stuff. We talked about estuaries. You got lagoons. A mangrove forest is down there in Florida where the manatees live. Coral reefs, you've probably seen Finding Nemo. That's where he left his coral reef and got lost. The deep sea means out there in the middle of the ocean. And then the sea floor was at the very bottom. Now the sea floor goes down a whole lot farther than the tallest mountain on the planet. Now, biodiversity. Bio means life. Diversity means differences. So biodiversity means the difference in life. As we said before, 80% of all living things on the planet live around and in oceans. So there's a lot of biodiversity. It means lots of different things. If I were to ask you to name me 20 things that live in or around the ocean, you'd be able to do it very easily. Upwelling. If you see upwelling as an EOG question, as a multiple choice question, choose upwelling because it's going to be the right answer. This is the process where the deep, cold water in the bottom of the ocean rises up to the surface and it brings nutrients with it. And when you bring these nutrients, that attracts all these other life forms to the surface of the ocean. So you got all these little life forms there. The fish start coming in and start eating those things. Now, if I'm a fisherman, that's where I want to be. I want to be fishing where the upwellings occur. And it's caused by wind and ocean currents, which you should have talked about wind and ocean currents when you were in 7th grade and when y'all talked about weather. There's a picture right here. The blue is the upwelling, the black and the red. It says the red is the wind, the black is the water. Again, I'm not going to get too in-depth in ocean currents. Those are just the things. If you remember watching Nemo, Finding Nemo, they rode with the turtles on that current that was able to move fast. That's an ocean current. There's just a picture right there. Like I said, you should have did something with that in 7th grade science. Okay, photosynthesis. This is important work because you're going to be talking about this all year long. This is when an organism takes sunlight and produces food from it. We'll go into more depth as later year goes on, but not right now. You should know that's how plants make their food. Not just plants. Some other organisms like bacteria do the same thing. Now, chemosynthesis is similar to that. Photosynthesis has the word photo, which means light, food from light. Chemosynthesis means you're making food from chemicals. Now, this is how a lot of sea organisms that live on the sea floor, very deep down. Remember, deep down, that's like could be miles deep. There's no sun. So they can't use photosynthesis. So what they have to do is they have to use the magma and lava and the gases that are coming out of the bottom of the ocean to produce their food. Okay? And there's a picture of an organism on your right here. A lot of bacteria down there. These things called tube worms. You can see a picture of a tube worm right here. A tube worm near a hydrothermal vent. That's like a crack that's in the soil, in the bottom of the ocean, the seafloor. So a fissure or a crack, kind of like what y'all talked about in 6th grade when you talked about volcanoes and seafloor spread and that kind of stuff. It's where a lot of heat, geothermally heated water is released. A lot of chemicals released. There's things called tube worms and bacteria that live near these. And they kind of make their food through those chemicals that come out of there. Salinity. Salinity is how salty water is. It's to measure all the salts. All water has salt in it. Even fresh water has salt in it. It's just that salt water out in the ocean has more salt in it. So ocean water, if I had 1 kilogram of ocean water, a kilogram is about how much water would fit if I took a softball and hollowed it out and put water in it. There would be 35 grams of salt. 35 grams of salt. That's probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons of salt. Now, here's the thing about marine ecosystem. Marine ecosystems, what makes them marine is that they have a high salinity. They have a lot of salt in it. Okay, plankton. Talking about that little guy on SpongeBob, try to take over the world all the time. Well, plankton is a diverse group of organisms that live in the ocean. And a lot of times they can't swim because there's 2 types. You see down here at the bottom, there's phytoplankton, which means they're like plants. They are up near the top. They float. They do photosynthesis, take in the light, make some food. Then there's the ones called zooplankton that are like animals. They actually have like little tails, and they can fly around. They can not fly around, but they swim around, and they eat the phytoplankton. Now, the thing about plankton is that it is the main source of food for a lot of animals in the ocean. Smaller fish, shrimp, even some whales eat a lot of plankton. And it's the bottom of the food chain. And we'll talk about food chains and food webs later on when we do ecology and ecosystems. But another thing about plankton is that they are our #1 producer of oxygen. Not the trees on the planet, but the plankton, the phytoplankton that live in the ocean. That is where we get majority of our breathing, our oxygen that we breathe. Now here's some pictures of some different types of plankton. You can see some of them have tails, some are just floating around in the ocean. Now these are all microscopic. You really can't see them without a microscope. So it ain't like you can go in the ocean and try to find these things, okay? And that's pretty much it on oceans. So I hope you got that. All that stuff, I kind of went pretty fast. You can always pause the screens and actually write down and look at the words if you want to. Okay, next time, I'll see y'all people in class. Remember, I better not see y'all at the clubs.